Okay, so time has passed. It's been about 25-30 minutes or so. We've made tea, had coffee, discussed the meaning of life and other such things. This tray that we poured is now so hot that I can't even touch the bottom. Like I can barely touch this, but my fingers are already conditioned to heat. So your average person probably would not enjoy touching that whatsoever. You can pop these out at this point, and they will hold their shape. However, there's no harm in leaving it in there for a while longer. The point between being able to pop it out of the mold and the orgonite being fully cured, the resin being fully chemically reacted so that it's no longer emitting any foul odor, no longer undergoing its solidification process. The point between being hard enough to hold its shape and being fully cured is usually a couple of days. Just in my experience, I don't think that the thickness of it, again, makes any difference. Our dogs are over here talking to something in the distance. Ever vigilant, kept safe by Orgonite and hounds. So we're going to set this aside. We could pop them out right now, but I could do it right now, but I don't want to. So moving right along, we've got Elizabeth's piece here. Sorry, just silly. It's okay. Just roll with it. Will is making faces at me behind the camera. So come here and look at this. Come here. Take a look at this. It's crazy. It's really not that crazy. So this has started to solidify. You can tell by the fact that it's no longer a runny fluid. So I'm going to hold this crystal still. I don't want it accidentally popping out of there or becoming disengaged from that layer of resin. So it's perfect. It's just how we wanted it. So at this point, you can add to Orgonite whatever you want. There's literally an endless, whatever you have around the house or in your collection or that you want to acquire, you can put in Orgonite. Everything has a vibrational frequency. That's part of how Orgonite works. And so adding things that have specific vibrational signatures to your Orgonite is like adding seasonings to your recipe. And so we like to add things, Willow and I, things like rowan berries. We use a lot of herbs like lavender, rosemary, sage, things that have a really good vibrational frequency and energetic use. You can consult any number of herbal atlases or encyclopedias. Where are the herbs? Consult the atlas. To figure out which herbs you want to use if you don't already have an intuitive or experiential understanding of which ones you want to work with. Usually things that resonate with you, those are going to be the things you want to use. We really resonate with rowan berries, lavender, rosemary, and these sorts of things. So that's what we use, and that tends to work really well for us. So like I said with that piece earlier, I'm going to put these rowan berries in. I'm going to make just a little ring around the top here because I don't want this to be solid rowan berries on the top. I'm going to make a nice little ring. Get that little fuzz out. And these are rowan berries from Oregon or maybe Washington. But rowan is a really wonderful magical tree. One of the most magical of the trees, in fact. They're all magical, trees are, you know. Just, rowan berries have a certain affinity for the fae. And we being fae folk, we have a certain affinity for them. So I've got the layer of rowan berries there. And so what I'm going to do is get a little layer going of this. I'm just going to use a small layer to tack that down because that's exactly where I want those rowan berries. If I put too thick of a layer on, like I said, those rowan berries are going to rise to the top. And I'm going to add to this some fairy dust. And since my wife is a fairy, it just so happens we have fairy dust on hand. What this is the polymer flake little glitter that just is real fine and wonderful. Add to this our catalyst. This one is empty. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like I said, I use about 20 drops per ounce. When you're first starting, you might want to get a measuring cup so that you can get an idea of what an ounce of this liquid looks like, just to have some starting point and point of reference. So I'm going to very carefully pour these onto each of the rowan berries, making sure that I'm getting enough resin on them to both cover the tops and the sides, and kind of just tack them down onto that layer, because that's exactly where I want them. And there will be other stuff that goes on top of these, but I don't want these floating up through that other stuff. Even if you put rocks like pebbles, we've got some of these wonderful little beads that Willow's selected that we're going to put on there. Even if you do that, those will rise up through the pebbles. They will rise up through the pebbles. Put some lavender in there at this point. Love the lavender. And it looks so pretty with the rowan berry too. The red and the purple. Gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. This is going to go in a little bit. I don't know if that's going to go in now or later, but it's going to go in there. Next, let's see what we want to do here. I'm going to put a little bit of, no, we're going to use the metal flake. This is just, it's like gold leaf, but this is made from copper. And all this stuff you can get, every single thing that's not a stone or metal or, well actually, a lot of this stuff you can get at a craft store. A lot of it we've just gathered over the course of being people who like to gather magical ingredients. And Orgonite is an excellent place to put your collection of magical ingredients. So I've got this, it's very, it wants to stick to your fingers, so it's best to make sure your hands are really dry before you start handling this. And what I do is I just kind of, I'll pick at it into little pieces and then I'll just sprinkle it in there. I like to have not too big of a pieces, just because I don't want it to block the view of the other things in there. If this wasn't supposed to look pretty, big pieces would be fine, but then again we wouldn't be using the clear resin. So just a bit to add a little bit of color to that, because I want this layer to still be transparent. This is going to be like a little Saturn ring of rowan berries around that. We're going to let this dry, and we're going to come back and finish this puppy off. So we'll see you in the next little bit.